Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Glad you guys could join me. 45 minutes Pilates Matwork today. The only things we need are our mats, maybe a towel roll or something padding, some extra padding for your knees when we're on hands and knees during the class later. We'll be doing some core, some hips, some balancing, some front of the neck and shoulder blade work as well. If anything doesn't feel good for you at any particular time and any modifications I'm able to offer are not working for you, absolutely feel free to stop. Do not do anything that pushes you into any painful ranges. If you want to stretch a little bit, that's okay. If you feel like you just need to lay off on any particular exercises, that's absolutely fine. We flow through. We won't stick with any activity for too long. So you should be able to rejoin us relatively quickly. But let's start today standing on our mat, feet hip width apart. We're going to try to line our heels up with our sit bones. And let's settle our feet into the floor. Take a few breaths in and out through the nose, just nice calm breaths. And with your exhale, picture your feet just grounding you down nice and steady into the floor. Again, big breath in and exhale. Let's take our arms up and overhead now. We'll take them up to the ceiling, clasp those palms, press them up, and drop those blades toward the floor. As we drop our shoulder blades, we should get a nice lengthening, maybe some muscle activation right through the sides of those shoulder blades. With those arms overhead, we could soften up our knees, draw your belly gently back towards your spine to protect and support that area as we take a tall side bend toward one top corner of the room. Inhale up tall, and let's exhale to the other side. Repeat, inhale up tall. This time we'll take our feet a little bit wider apart and exhale, side bend. Hold it there, reaching those hands up to the ceiling. Let's drop the arm on the side that's closest to the side we're reaching toward, and we'll reach those fingertips down towards your ankles. Let's take a big breath in, arms come to the ceiling. We'll clasp them again, side bend to the other side. Locate that top corner, and then we'll drop that arm toward that foot, reaching it down toward the ankle, deepening that stretch and that muscle activation on the other side of the trunk. Inhale up tall, exhale, arms out to the sides, and we'll bring them down by our legs as we scoot those feet in again, lining up those heels up with our sit bones. Roll the shoulders back. Here's 4. Roll for 3, 2, and 1. Let's take our hands right to our midsection. Heels of the hands are right on our hip bones. Index and middle fingers form a little diamond around that belly button. And we're going to shift the weight toward our toes and toward our heels. Pay attention to what you feel underneath your hands. You should feel those core muscles kicking in a little bit more strenuously as we hit those front and back end boundaries of where we feel nice and supported. Taking our weight right back over those ankle joints. Let's switch our fingertips to the front of the waistline, thumbs to the back of the waistline, and we'll shift from foot to foot. As we shift from one side to the other, take care to try to keep that whole foot on the floor, both on the side we're standing on and the side we're moving away from. And as we shift toward one side, you'll feel difference in how those two sides of your trunk are working. Let's make some circles around that base of support. As we circle, we're pivoting around those ankle joints. You want to picture a string at the crown of the head, drawing us all the way up to the ceiling. Feel those muscles kick in a cyclic fashion. And let's circle the other way. Circle for 4. For 3, we're really finding that boundary as far as how far we can go for each foot. Here's 2. Here's 1. Let's shift our weight back over those ankle joints. Hands come by our sides. Shake out the knees a little bit, and we'll make a quarter turn toward our front of our mat. We're now facing lengthwise. We'll step back a bit on the mat toward that back edge. We're going to prepare to be down on hands and knees in just a minute, so make sure you have your extra padding nearby if you need it. We'll soften up our knees. Hands come right to the fold in the hips. And let's take that breastbone forward and that tailbone back. They're moving in equal and opposite directions to each other. With the hands right on the hips, we're going to keep that belly drawn gently back toward our spine and float the arms down so they're reaching vertically toward the ground. Shake out those shoulders a little bit. Let those arms move like we're elephants swinging our trunks. And then floating those hands down toward the floor, let's row. Squeeze and bring those elbows and shoulder blades back. Release them to the floor. Again, squeeze and row. Release. Keep that going. Feel free to shift your weight forward or back towards your toes or towards your heels and find the place that feels optimal for you as far as stability and as far as feeling the least amount of effort required to keep yourself upright. We're going to squeeze those blades together, moving on to a triceps press. Elbows stay right by our sides. We're going to press those elbows straight, fingertips reach to the wall behind us. Bend the elbows, fingertips reach toward the floor. Straighten and bend, straighten and bend. Press for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's hold those arms right where they are. Squeeze those blades together. Take a big breath in. As we exhale, we're going to reach our hands down toward the floor. Bend the knees enough that we can maybe touch those fingertips to the mat. Shift the weight back toward the heels to take the load off of those knees. And we're going to wiggle those knees, straighten and bend. Stretch through a little bit of that connective tissue behind the thighs. If you do need more support, we could have our hands right on the lower part of our thighs as they meet our knee joints. Wiggle those knees straight and bent for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's take those hands flat to the floor. Bend the elbows as much as you need to get there. And we're going to walk our hands toward the front of our mat and line up our elbows and ears as best we can. Take a big breath in. Breathing out, drop those heels toward the floor, lengthening out through the back of the leg from those heels all the way to the sit bones. Take an inhale. Exhaling, draw that belly to the spine. We're going to come forward to a plank position, dropping those knees to the floor if we need a little more support. Let's shift our weight from side to side, pushing the floor away with those hands. Shoulder blades are pressing firmly toward the mat. We could be up in high plank for this. We'll take it side to side. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's take it right back to the middle. We'll bring our knees down right underneath those hips for cat and cow. Curl the belly to the ceiling, looking toward those thighs. Let's release and control down to our cow. Curl to cat, release to cow. Twice more, curl to cat, release to cow. Take it right back to neutral. Upper body stay still. We're going to wag our tail side to side, hip to shoulder, hip to shoulder. Alternate here for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's take that body right back to center. We'll take our feet together, our knees apart, lower that bottom down toward the heels. We can drop the forearms to the floor, or we can keep those elbows straight and walk those hands toward the front of our mat. We want to stop at that first point of resistance that we feel under those armpits and right along the sides of the trunk. Hold here. Let's draw that forehead down toward the mat. Press your bottom towards your heels. Take a big breath in. Breathing out. We'll bend those elbows if they're not already bent. Let's shift the body over the forearms and take our legs back behind the body, resting those hip bones on the mat. Press those shoulder blades to the floor. We'll take an inhale. And on the exhale, draw that belly a little closer to the spine. Let's squeeze and press our shoulder blades. Squeeze them behind the back, press them forward toward the floor. Squeeze together, press them forward. Squeeze and press. Here's 4. Squeeze and press for 3. Last 2. And 1. Big breath in. Exhaling, let's roll to our backs. We'll bend up our knees and place our feet on the floor, lining those heels up with our sit bones, getting prepared for our pelvic clock, warming up all those muscles from the belly button down to that pubic bone. We're going to rest our hands down by our sides and picture that clock face from the breastbone at 12 o'clock to the pubic bone at 6 o'clock, from 3 o'clock on the hip bone closest to the screen to 9 o'clock facing away from the screen. Let's keep those collarbones widened away from the middle of the body. And as we exhale, we're going to take that breastbone, sink it down toward the mat. Let's curl that pelvis toward 12 o'clock by shortening our pubic bones toward that breastbone. Release and lengthen the pubic bone down toward your heels, 6 o'clock. Curl to 12, release to 6. Let's keep that pattern going. Curl it 12 to 6 for 4, for 3, for 2. And for 1, let's come right back to neutral. We'll rotate that pelvis from 3 o'clock, tipping the hip farthest from the screen up toward the ceiling. Take it through neutral and rock that pelvis toward 9 o'clock. Hip closest to the screen, rotates toward the ceiling. Roll through neutral, rock to 3. Roll through neutral, rock to 9. One more time in each. Roll through neutral, rock to 3. Roll through neutral, rock to 9. We'll take it right back to the center. Big breath in. Exhaling, draw that belly gently down toward the spine like we're tightening a seatbelt of muscles right between those two hip bones. And we're going to float our arms to the ceiling. Take a big breath in. As we exhale, let's reach those shoulder blades forward to the ceiling. Wrap them around the front of the body. Fingertips come up through your rafters. Exhale, lower those blades to the floor. Inhale and reach, exhale and lower. Inhale and reach, exhale and lower. Let's repeat here. Keep those shoulder blades coming up and down at your own speed. If we want to take this further, we're going to float one knee up to 90 degrees. Keep that belly drawn down, and we'll float our other knee up to meet it in tabletop with those shins parallel to the ceiling. Whether the feet are lifted or lowered, we're going to reach those shoulder blades up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Inhale the blades up to the ceiling, exhale them down to the mat. Let's arc those arms forward toward the wall in front of us and face our palms toward the floor. We could nod the chin. You're welcome to lift that head and upper body slightly off the floor. Keep those shoulder blades resting on the floor if you can. And we're going to pat our hands up and down, moving into our 100 breaths. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. Feel free to progress if you'd like by straightening those knees, bringing our feet toward the ceiling. We could extend them forward toward that wall in front of us. We could even take a kickstand down, place one foot on the floor for additional support. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. Flip those palms over. Let's press the air to the ceiling. Breathe it in. And exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. One more breath in. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause where you are. Turn those palms toward the floor. Let's bend our knees to tabletop and curl that upper body down if it's been lifted. Taking our hands to the floor, we'll press those shoulder blades down, and let's look side to side while maintaining that tabletop position with one or both of our legs. Let's take a pause with that head rotated to one side. Inhale. Exhale, take that head back to neutral. Breathe it in. And exhale, we'll side rotate the other way. Big breath in. Exhale, back to neutral. Let's pull that knee farthest from the screen all the way into our chest. Give it a nice hug with those hands. We're going to slide our other leg out along the floor, tightening up the front of that thigh on that outstretched leg. If we tuck that pelvis toward 12 o'clock, you might get a hip flexor stretch on that side that's lengthened out. We're going to nod that chin and hover that straight leg up slightly off the floor, just a couple inches. You should be able to maintain that length through the front of the hip, even while hovering the foot up off the floor. Nodding that chin, we could raise the upper body up if you'd like. We'll take that lifted leg side to side toward the screen, toward the center. Out and in. Try to move from that hip joint while keeping the pelvis and that low back nice and still. Let's move to circles. Draw some circles on the wall in front with those toes. And let's take it the other direction. Circle for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Breathe it in. Lower that upper body down as we exhale, and let's switch it up. We'll take the opposite knee, pull it into the chest. Let's lengthen that leg we just had pulled in all the way out along the mat. Tighten up through the front of that thigh. Tilt that pelvis to 12 o'clock again, giving ourselves a nice little lengthening, a little opening through that hip flexor on our straight leg. And then holding onto that bent knee with both hands, we could nod the chin, draw the belly down further, and hover that straight leg up just a touch off the mat, maintaining that length through our hip flexor. Feel free to nod and lift that head and upper body. And we'll take that second straight leg now, side to side for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Big breath in. Lower that head and neck up, down if it's been lifted. We're going to keep our bellies drawn down, and we're going to switch our legs. Pull that other knee in, press the opposite leg forward, hovering it off the floor. Pull to the center, pressing forward. Pull to the center, switch it up. Keep it going, raising that upper body if you'd like. Pull and press for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Let's pull both knees into the chest. Bring that upper body down if it's been lifted, and maintain that chin nod, keeping that back of the neck nice and long and pressed toward the floor. Roll those shoulders back and down. We're going to take our hands down by our sides. We're using our hip muscles and abdominals to draw those knees both tightly into the chest. We're going to lengthen that leg closest to the screen all the way out along the mat now. And let's fold the other knee up to tabletop. Hold it there. Keeping that thigh vertical, extend your knee, reaching those toes up to the ceiling, just to that very first point of resistance where you feel a stretch through the thigh, not so far that you feel like you're fighting yourself and shaking through your quad. We're going to hold here. Keep that belly drawn down and press your hands on the floor for a little support as we float that lifted leg out to the side away from our screen, and then back up to the ceiling. Let's take it side to side, out to the side, back to the center. Feel free to play around with your range. It's not cheating, it's just efficiency to keep those hands down on the floor for a little more support. You might be able to get far enough to the side that you get a little inner thigh stretch. One more time, out to the side and back to the center. And let's move that leg in circles. We're stirring that hip in its socket. If that knee is a little bit bent, that's okay. We can picture a pencil coming out of that kneecap, helping us trace that circle. Pause where you are, big breath in. As we exhale, let's circle that leg the opposite direction. Reach those toes up. Here's 3. Here's 2. And here's 1. Reach the ceiling. Let's hang on behind that thigh. We'll roll our shoulders back and down, pulling that knee into the chest. And let's switch it up. Draw the other one in. We'll keep those knees into the chest, taking our hands back down to the mat. Drop those shoulder blades down as well. And we're going to extend that leg that we just stretched straight down along the mat. Float that newly lifted leg up to our tabletop position. And keeping that trunk and pelvis as still as we can, let's extend our new knee, bringing that foot up to the ceiling. We could always flex and point a little bit if you wanted. Again, we're going for that first resistance point without fighting ourselves through the quads. And let's take that lifted leg out to the side toward that screen and back to the ceiling. Exhale away from midline. Inhale back to the ceiling. Out and in. Keep those hip bones pointed like headlights right up to the ceiling. Let's move to circles. Stir that hip in its socket. Again, if that knee needs a little bit of a bend in it, that's okay. Picture that little pencil tracing the circle on the ceiling. Pause at the top, breathing in, and exhaling. We'll circle the other way for 4, 3, 2. Last one. Let's pause with that leg up to the ceiling. Hang on behind the thigh, and we're going to roll our shoulders back and down. Flex that foot, point the toes to the ceiling. Draw your belly towards your spine. We nod that chin. You're welcome to lift that head and upper body if you'd like, and we'll move to our single straight leg stretches. Lowered leg lifts up. Switch your grip and take that opposite foot toward the floor. Lift, switch and lower. Lift, switch and lower. Switch for 4. It's fine if those knees have a bend to them. Here's 3. Here's 2. And here's 1. Let's bring those legs to the ceiling, bending our knees to tabletop. We'll keep a hold of the back of the thighs like a little sling. And let's bring that upper body down. All right, let's take our hands down. Glue those knees and feet together and press those shoulder blades down to the floor. Let's rock our knees toward the screen and away. Again, toward the screen and away. Keep that going. Press those hands down. It's fine if your opposite hip lifts away from the floor as your knees go to the other side. Maybe we challenge it a little further by straightening those legs back up to the ceiling. Maybe we hover our hands up off the mat. Might have to shorten the range with which we're moving those legs. Let's move on to circles. Glue those feet together, trace some clockwise circles on the ceiling. Hip bones are still pointed like headlights up to the ceiling, and that belly's drawn toward the spine. Pause at the top, breathing in, and exhaling, we'll circle the other way. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pause to the ceiling, big breath in. Let's flex our feet, turn the toes away from each other, making a narrow V with those feet. Bending the knees a bit more, we're gonna move into our frog position, frog press. We're gonna take those heels, bring them in toward the pubic bone. Knees are out to the sides. Exhaling, we'll press those knees toward each other, pressing our heels where the wall and ceiling meet. Inhale, frog, exhale, press. Inhale, frog, exhale, press. Keep this going for a range that's working for you. If your hamstrings and your inner thighs are pretty tight, it may be a 2 or 3 inch press. That's okay. We're working through a range we can control. Frog and press. Let's bring those feet parallel to each other. Pull those thighs back up to vertical. Bend the knees to tabletop and float those arms to the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale. We'll drop the chin down, drop those shoulder blades down, and draw that belly down toward the spine. Arm closest to the screen now comes back overhead, and we'll stretch our opposite leg long in front toward that wall. Inhale, back to the ceiling. Exhale and switch. Inhale, center. Exhale and switch. Let's take it side to side. Here's 4. Switch and lengthen for 3. Here's 2. And here's 1. Let's take everything up to the ceiling. We'll give those knees a brief hug into the chest. Rock the body side to side. Here's 4. Rock for 3, 2, and 1. Take them back to the center. Roll those shoulders back and down for 2. And for 1, take the hold of those kneecaps. We're going to encourage those knees back up to tabletop. Shins are parallel to the ceiling. Let's float those arms back to the ceiling one final time before we move on. We're going to lengthen those shoulder blades down to the mat, draw the belly down, and flex those feet. Let's take that heel closest to the screen, lower it with control to the mat. Inhale it back to tabletop. Exhale, opposite heel taps and lifts up. We could take them both down or one at a time if that was hard for you or challenging enough. Let's repeat. Heels come down, heels lift up. If you'd like to build on this, those arms can come back overhead and back to the ceiling as the knees come to tabletop. We'll repeat here for 4, for 3, last 2, last 1. Control those heels, one or both, down to the mat. When they're both on the floor, we can bring those toes down to meet them as well. Let's reach those arms long overhead, relax that core, take a big breath in. As we exhale, drop that belly down. See if you can drop your middle back and those lowest ribs down toward the floor as well. We'll arc our arms to the ceiling and then take them down to the floor in front of us. Let's rock those knees side to side, inching our heels back up at the same time till they line up with our sit bones. Bringing those knees to the ceiling, we're going to take care to ensure that the heels, the knees, and the hips are all lined up equal distances from each other, and we'll move on into bridging. Take a breath in. Breathing out, we draw that belly to the spine, press through your heels, and lift that bottom up off the mat to that first point of resistance. We want to feel it in the glutes. We do not want to feel the low back. If you feel the low back as you hold, lower those rear ends down just a touch more toward the floor. Find that high point where you're nice and supported, and picture those kneecaps stretching toward the wall in front of you. Feel a nice stretch through the quads, kneecap, maybe potentially all the way up to those hips. Inhale and exhale, we'll float that body back down to the mat, releasing the glutes at the bottom. Big breath in, exhale, bridge it up. Let's float those hips down and control them up. Move through at your own pace. Feel free to inch those heels a little closer to your bottom if you feel you need a little bit more leverage. If you feel like you're cramping in your hamstrings, lift your toes and think about pressing your heels forward toward the front of your mat. That'll take it out of the back of the thigh, move it into the tush and into those quads. We're going to hold that next bridge up at the top. Keep those hips nice and level as we go up and down on our toes. Lift and lower the heels for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big breath in, exhale, bridge it down. Again, let's release those glutes at the bottom. We'll rock our knees side to side for 4, for 3, last 2, and 1. Take them right to the center again. We'll inch those heels just a touch closer to our hips. Breathing in. Exhale, belly to spine. Bridge yourself back up. We'll hold at the top of your motion, wherever that might be. And let's rock that pelvis on stable legs and a stable trunk. Hip closest to the screen is going to lower toward the mat. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, opposite hip comes down. Inhale, lift, exhale, and rotate. Inhale, lift, exhale, and rotate. Let's switch them up here for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take them right back to the middle. Breathe it in. Exhale, bridging down. Release those glutes at the bottom. Take a big breath in. And as we exhale, we'll get ready for our final sequence in the bridging series. We're going to do some single leg bridges. We have the option here of crossing one ankle to the opposite knee. I'm going to stick with that one for a little more stability through the pelvis. You could also be up at tabletop if you'd like. Pick your position and take a breath. Press that weight-bearing heel into the floor. And we're going to squeeze those glutes and lift up into our bridge. Lower down. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Twice more here. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. We're going to hold it here. Let's go up and down on our toes. Lift the heels for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Big breath in. Exhale, control that body back down to the floor. Let's keep that ankle where it is, and we'll rock that body over to the side opposite the screen. And we'll rock that side of the body toward the screen. One more time, rock away from the screen. Rock it toward the screen. Take it right back to the middle. We'll switch up and repeat on the other side. Knee comes to tabletop or heel crosses over. Take a big breath in. Exhaling, belly to spine. We're going to press that supporting heel into the floor. Lift to bridge. Control it down. Lift to bridge. Remember, you could always lift those toes if you feel yourself starting to cramp. Again, lift. Control down. One final time, we'll lift into bridge and hold it there, coming up and down on the toes for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Last 2. Last one. Press that heel down, take a big breath in. Exhale, control that body down to the mat. Once those glutes are on the floor, we're going to rock the body toward that screen, away from the cross-leg side, and rock back to the other wall. One more time through, rock toward that screen. Rock it away. Let's take those knees right back up to the middle. We'll uncross the legs, take that second foot to the floor. We'll line up the heels with those sit bones again. We'll take a big breath in. Exhaling, let's draw that belly to the spine. Take our hands right on top of that pelvis, heels of the hands on the hip bones, index finger and middle finger pointing right around that navel. We're going to slide one leg out straight. And then we'll do our best to slide that other leg out straight. If you need one or both knees bent a bit, that's okay. Let's hold here, drawing that belly to the spine, and let's float those arms to the ceiling. Big breath in. As we exhale, draw that chin down toward the neck. Drop your breastbone toward the floor. Funnel those lowest ribs toward each other and down toward your pubic bone. And drop that belly toward the spine. Big breath in. Keep those connections as we exhale and take those arms back overhead to that first point of resistance under the arms. If you feel a lot of stretch in the inside of the arm toward that elbow, if it's not uncomfortable, you are welcome to hold through the stretch and take some deep breaths. If you need to, bring those hands a little closer to the ceiling. We'll breathe it in. As we exhale, we keep that belly drawn down, and we're going to alternate lifting one foot up and down and then the other. The goal here is to try to keep those hips pointed like headlights toward the ceiling as we transfer that weight from side to side. Alternate those legs. Here's 4, 3, last 2, and 1. Big breath in, reach those arms back overhead. Exhaling, we'll arc the arms to the ceiling, forward to the mat in front of us, and let's make our way over to hands and knees, adding that padding under your knees if you do need to do so. All right. Once we're up here on hands and knees, line up the wrists and shoulders, line up those knees and hips. And you're going to picture something balanced right in the small of your back. You want to keep it nice and still. Maybe picture an analogous item balanced between your shoulder blades as well. Keeping that belly drawn toward the spine. We're going to do some shoulder taps here. We're going to keep that arm farthest from the screen right where it is. We'll unweight that hand closest to the screen. Tap your hand to your opposite shoulder. Float it back down, switch it up. Tap the hand to the shoulder. Let's alternate here. Take them side to side again with the goal of keeping that trunk stable versus those rotational forces. You're going to feel your knees pressing a little bit unevenly into the floor as we switch arms. If you want to make this harder, feel free to walk those hands a little closer toward the front of your mat. Open up through those hips just a touch. If you're out in that modified plank, feel free to walk yourself back to hands and knees. We'll pause when those wrists and shoulders, knees and hips are lined up on top of each other again. Keeping that belly drawn toward the spine, let's squeeze and press our shoulder blades. Squeeze and press. Squeeze and press. Keep that going. And again, we could challenge ourselves further by walking those hands forward toward that modified plank on knees. We could take it farther by coming up into high plank. Squeeze and press for 3, for 2, for 1. Bring those knees back down under the hips if they're not already there. Let's roll our shoulders in circles here. We're going to shrug the shoulders to the ears. Shoulder blades come back toward each other, and let's shrug them down toward our hips. Make some circles. Again, try to keep that low back nice and still. Move those blades on a stable trunk. Let's reverse it. Shoulders come to the hips, back toward each other, up to the ears and forward. 2 more circles here. We'll press those blades to the floor. Let's rock that bottom back to the heels briefly. Drop those forearms to the floor. And think about drawing your elbows towards your knees. That'll get those armpit muscles working. Take some pressure off the rest of the blades. Big breath in. Breathing out, let's rise back up to all fours. And let's take that leg closest to the screen, back behind the body, and open that opposite arm out in front. Nice long diagonal. Switch it through. Switch and reach. And switch and reach. Hold it here. Press that shoulder blade toward the floor on the side where your arm's bearing the weight. We're going to bend our free elbow and our free knee in toward each other. And then we'll extend them away from center. 3 more times. Curl it in. Press them away. Here's 2. And press. Last one. Curl. Press. Let's take our hands and knees down to the mat. Shift off that weight-bearing side a little bit if you need to. And we'll switch it up. Opposite leg back. Stretch the other arm forward. Bend the elbow, bend the knee. Bring them in toward each other. Exhale them away from center. Inhale toward each other. Exhale and reach. Twice more. Stretch them away. Bring them into the center. Stretch them away. Let's take that hand down. So we're resting on our hands, one knee with that opposite leg back behind us. That toe could be slightly lower than our bottoms. Let's take that leg side to side. Draw a horizontal line on the wall behind you. Good. Stretch that leg back. Squeeze that cheek. Lift the leg up to hip height. Back down to the mat. Squeeze and lift. Lower, lift, and lower. Lift and hold. Keep that thigh still. Bend and straighten the knee for hamstring curl. Here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. Keep it bent. Flex that foot. From here, that belly stays in. We're going to bring ourselves down onto our forearms and pulse that knee to the ceiling. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice work. Let's bring that leg back down. We'll press ourselves back up to hands and knees. Repeat the series on the other side. Bring that belly up toward the spine. Extend that opposite leg back behind you. Lift it up slightly higher than the floor, below hip height. Take it side to side, out and in for 4. For 3. For 2. For 1, stretch that leg behind you. Squeeze that cheek. Lift that straight leg up and down for 4. For 3. For 2. For 1, lift back up to hip height. Bend that knee to 90 degrees. Hold it there. Straighten and bend. Straighten and bend. Twice more. Straighten, bend and hold. Flex that foot. And we'll come back down onto our forearms and pulse that bent leg to the ceiling for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's bring that leg down. Feet come together, knees come apart. Let's press that bottom down toward our heels and walk our hands toward the front of the mat. Again, it's completely fine for those elbows to be bent. If you need to take more pressure off your shoulders or your sides, bring those arms slightly out to the sides, away from the body toward the outer borders of your mat. We'll hold here at the stretch that feels comfortable. Breathing in, breathe it out. Let's walk our hands toward our screen. We'll pause hand over hand, inhaling into the opposite side of the body. Exhaling, let's walk our hands the other way. Again, hand over hand, big breath in to the side we're moving away from. Exhaling, let's take those arms forward and we'll make our way up into a long sitting position, lengthwise on our mat with the feet out in front of us. We're gonna go for vertical trunk and pelvic alignment. So if those knees do need to be bent to accommodate some tightness, that's okay. We're trying to get our center of gravity right over the front of our sit bones. You can take your hands to your glutes and kind of pull them out of the way if that's helpful. If it's not helpful, don't worry about it. Just sit up nice and tall. We're going to hold our hands behind our thighs like a little bit of a sling. And let's walk those heels back toward our sit bones, allowing that trunk to angle backward just a touch. We're going to press our feet flat into the floor and roll those shoulders back and down. We're using our hands as a bit of a sling. I want you to draw that belly back. And what if we lift our hands away? You should feel a little more work through the trunk in front. If you're feeling a lot in your back, I want you to come up a little more vertically oriented. Let's hold where you are. We're going to inch those heels forward just a touch and come up onto the toes if you can. Let's rock our knees side to side away from the screen and toward the screen. If we do still have them behind the thighs, our hands are just gently encouraging that rotation side to side without forcing anything. Side to side for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take them back to the middle And let's alternate. Lift one foot up and down and then the other. If you want to take it further, bring those knees up so your arms and your thighs are parallel to each other. Walk the legs out. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Grab onto those shins, pull yourself up nice and tall. And we'll do a few seated cat-cows, curl and release through that pelvis. Let your upper body go along for the ride. Curl and release, coming up nice and tall. We're gonna bring ourselves a little farther forward on our mat. I feel like I'm sliding off that back edge. We're gonna hold on, right to the outsides of our knees. Press the hands and knees toward each other, and maybe we straighten those elbows out just a touch more. That should get us into those hip muscles. We're isometrically pushing our hands into our knees and our knees into our hands. Nothing's moving through those hips. Let's take that arm closest to the screen, open it to the side, follow it with your head. Inhale it to the center, exhale and switch. Again, inhale center, exhale switch. Inhale center and exhale switch. Grab onto those shins. Let's pull ourselves up nice and tall, and we'll rock again through that seated cat and cow, initiating with the pelvis, curling that pubic bone toward the breastbone, and then lengthening that pubic bone toward the back of our mat. We're gonna hold ourselves up nice and tall with that pubic bone tip toward the floor, tailbone tip toward the back of our mat, and we're gonna take our hands back to the floor behind us. Fingertips can face our bottoms or they could face out to the side, whatever feels best for you. We're gonna straighten those elbows out and squeeze the blades. Find a position where this feels a little stretchy, but not super taxing to maintain that position. You wanna feel like you really keep that open position through the chest. And if from here you have a little more slack to take out of the system, wiggle those knees side to side, let those hips come forward towards your buttocks. We're gonna pause here, breathing in. As we exhale, keep that belly toward the spine, and let's send that breastbone up toward the ceiling. That should open up the chest and the tops of those arms a little further. We have 3 deep breaths here. If you would like to press the feet into the floor and lift those bottoms up, you're welcome to do so. Big breath in, exhale. Again, big breath in, breathe it out. One final time, big breath in. Exhaling, let's take that bottom down. Shake out those wrists. Bend and straighten your elbows nice and gently. Weight bearing definitely makes them work a little bit differently than when they're hanging by our sides. We're gonna make our way up to kneeling position, tall kneeling. If you'd like to double your mat up or add your towel roll under your knees, you're welcome to do so now. We'll take our hands right to our hips. Tilt that pelvis to 12 o'clock, just flattening out that back slightly, getting us into our hip flexors that touch. And we're gonna take one leg, stretch it out to the side, and drop the hips till they're even with each other. Big breath in. Exhale, hinge that body forward. Inhale up tall. Exhale, hinge forward. Inhale up tall. One more time. Exhale, hinge the body forward. Inhale it up tall. Let's take our arms out to the side. And we'll exhale, side bending toward our bent knee, reaching that arm long overhead. Inhale up to vertical and exhale, side bend toward that straight leg. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale and side bend. Hold it there if you can. Let's lift those toes off the floor and pulse them for 8, 7, 6, 5. Do your best. 3, 2, and 1. Come up nice and tall. And let's side bend toward that opposite leg. All right, let's switch sides. We'll take our hands right back to those knees. Tilt that pelvis to 12 o'clock again. We'll open that opposite leg and drop that hip down, getting us into our inner thighs as we take a big breath in. Exhale and hinge. Inhale up tall. Exhale and hinge. Hold into that hip flexor or hip adductor stretch, excuse me. Inhale up tall, arms float out to the side, and we'll exhale toward that bent knee. Reach that arm. Inhale up, exhale and side bend toward that straight leg. Again, inhale up, exhale, side bend toward that bent knee. We'll float that foot up off the floor, pulse the leg for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take it up tall. Side bend toward that straight leg. Let's bring both knees back down to the mat. We'll roll the shoulders back and down for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's flip those palms forward toward our screen. Take those hands back to the wall behind, and we'll pulse our pinkies together for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Breathe it in. Exhale, arms come down. Let's tip an ear to a shoulder. Take it up and we'll tip to the other shoulder. Take that head back to the middle. And let's make our way down onto one side. We're going to line our heels up with our sit bones. Lift up that waistline from the floor. Let's press our top hand into the mat. We're going to lift and lower our knees for 4, for 3, for 2. Keep that breastbone facing the screen. Last one. Feet lift up. Stay there as those top knees come up and down again for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees stay down, feet come down. Press that top leg up into fire hydrant lifts. Take it up and down. Lift and lower. Twice more. Lift, lower to hip height. Swing the knee forward. Press that bent knee back. Swing it forward and press. Twice more. Press forward. Press and hold. Flex your foot. Pulse that heel to the wall behind for 8, 7. Squeeze that glute. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Swing that leg forward to line up with the bottom leg. We'll stretch our bottom leg out straight. Take the top toes to that bottom knee. Top knee comes down and up for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Top foot comes up to knee height. Open leg fire hydrants for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Stretch that top leg out straight. Let's circle it forward for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Reverse it. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and hold. Pulse it for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold it there. Bottom leg comes up and down by itself. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring them down. Bend those knees up. Pat out that hip. All right, home stretch. Let's take it up and over to the other side. We'll rest on that bottom arm. Knees are forward, heels line up with the buttocks. Lift that waistline and we'll press our knees up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees down, feet lift. Top leg presses for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees come down, feet come down. Top leg up for fire hydrant lifts. Take them up and down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold them up there. Swing it forward. Press it back. Swing it forward. Press it back. Swing. And press. Swing. Press and hold. Flex that foot. Pulse that top glute for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Swing that knee forward. We'll straighten out our bottom leg. Top foot comes to that bottom knee. Take it up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Lift that knee, lift the foot up to meet it. Take it up and down for 4, 3, 2, 1. What if we pulse it here? 4, 3, 2, and 1. Straighten that top leg out. Circle it forward. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Reverse. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5. Almost there, guys. 2 and 1. Up and down. Hold. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bottom leg comes up and down by itself. Pull from the bottom inner thigh. Here's 4, 3, 2, 1. Take them down. Bend those knees up. Pat that hip out. Little speed blast through those glutes today. We're going to bend up our knees, lining those heels up with our sit bones. Let's take those knees. We'll draw them into the chest, drop them out away from center, and rock that body side to side. Good. Big breath in and big breath out. Take our bodies back to the center. Grab on toward those kneecaps. Gently stir those hips in their sockets. Make some circles, guide those knees. And let's rotate the other direction. Good. Twice more. Give them a hug. We'll bring those feet down. Let's turn over to cat and cow. Once we find the hands and knees position, we'll curl to cat and release to cow. Again, curl the cat. Release to cow. Take it back to neutral. Turn those toes under. We'll walk ourselves back to a flat-footed position. Once our weight's over the front of the ankles, we can stand up nice and tall and shake those knees out. We're gonna finish up with a little single leg balancing. So if you have something to hold on to, go ahead and find it now if you'd like it. We're gonna bend those knees just a touch, line those feet up with our shoulders. Let's take our hands to our glutes, right at the back of the hips, and we'll push our weight from side to side. Feel those muscles tap into your hands as you shift your weight. Good, let's pause at one side. We'll straighten up that knee, hold into that single leg balance. Arms can come down by the sides. We're gonna hold here. Maybe we close our eyes, feel those feet press into the floor. Really work to keep you upright. Open those eyes if they've been shut. Hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's take that side down. Shift over to the other side, straightening out that knee. Find your way to single leg balance. Closing the eyes if you want to challenge it further. Close them and hold. Good, open those eyes back up. Hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's take those legs down a little wider than our shoulders. Shake those knees out a bit. Shifting those weight toward the heels, we'll roll the shoulders back for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's soften our knees and close class with one big breath in. Palms together. Inhale as we bring our feet together. And exhale those hands into our center. Guys, have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous weekend and see you next time.